Hey cherries, it's Jessica here from Cherry on Top. In today's video I am showing a bunch of different stamping techniques using stamps. So I'll be inking and watercoloring, getting out some mixed media, and having a lot of fun with some different larger Altenew stamps that I have. I wanted to start with a few stamping must-haves, and for me it's working on a glass media mat. Some surfaces and tables, they'll have a little bit of give to them. I've noticed especially if you're working on a plastic table or a wood table, you might not be able to get a super crisp stamped image, where when you work on a glass mat, it just works really well. Also, I am working with the Catherine Pooler Midnight stamp. I really love Catherine Pooler stamps. They're very juicy, and I just find it much easier to stamp with them because of this. I will ink up my stamp and then press it on the paper. I usually press it down for maybe like 10 seconds, and then I like to just leave it there for a minute and really make sure that the ink has fully gotten onto the page before pulling it back up. And something that is nice with working with the Catherine Pooler inks is that they are water resistant. So as you can see on this card, I am watercoloring right over the ink and it's not moving around at all. For this card, I was going for more of a messy watercolor look, which I really love, and I think with the stamp being so detailed, it leaves some room to be a little messier with the watercoloring, and also it's a lot quicker when working with a stamp like this. So as I was watercoloring this, I was also splattering and layering. The more that you layer your watercolors, the darker the color gets, and as the watercolor dries, it becomes a little lighter, so you might need to add a few more layers than what you expect. And then I wanted to add some white splatter, so I used some white acrylic paint, and then that card was all done. For my next couple cards, I wanted to add some ink blending on the background to stamp over. So I just so happened to grab all Catherine Pooler inks again, but I mix and match my inks a lot as long as they are water-based, like the Tim Holtz Distress inks or Pink Fresh, or there's a bunch of other brands. And I just pick based on the color and what will make a nice gradient. I notice when I'm doing blended backgrounds using a blending brush, I have a lot more success. When I'm using like the circle applicators, I find that I get a lot of the circle shapes where I don't really get that with the brushes, and I feel like I can have a softer touch with them and really get them nice and blended. This next card, I wanted to create a nice little border, so I used some washi tape to tape off my areas that I wanted to remain white. Today's video is part of our September YouTube hop, and we are focusing on stamping. And if you leave a comment on this video, as well as our design team videos that are linked in the description below, you will be entered to win a $15 Cherry on Top gift card. And it's all about stamping, so there's a ton of great stamping techniques along the way, and the design team always creates such beautiful projects, and I always learn a lot from these hops. So make sure to check those all out. This stamped is a really big floral stamp. Altenew has quite a few of them. This is one I've had in my stash for a while, but I really like having some of these really large images because they make cards like this super quick and easy. And I'm stamping this once with just black ink on the first card, and then on this second card I am using some embossing ink so I can add embossing powder to get a different look on a different card. I feel like you can never have too many florals in your stash. I use all of my floral stamps all the time, and this is just one way that I feel like you can use them is with cards. And I don't make a lot of cards, but when I do, I like to make batches of them that'll last me a little bit. And so this is something that I feel like I could keep repeating this image multiple times, and then this is good for a wedding, for a birthday, anniversary, a surprise. I think, yeah, just having a really nice floral card can be used for so many different events that you would give a card for. Something else that I like to do when I'm making batches of cards like this is that I might not add sentiments to all of the cards. I might add them to a few that I know that I would use, but a lot of them I don't want to make it super specific to just one certain event. So I'll keep it more open-ended, and I find that I'm able to use the card more quickly if I do that. Next, I use the Altenew stamp to add a rainbow of colored inks across it, and then I gave it a mist of water just so the colors would blend together a little bit more, and the colors at the top where I first started inking will still remain wet. And then after pushing it down, you can see I've got a nice rainbow gradient across the stamp. Next, I am using just regular black the Midnight ink, and this is one that I will be watercoloring as well, but it will have a different watercolor look than the first one where I did more of a messy watercolor. You can also use watercolor to get more exact and defined lines like how I'm doing in this card. So doing it like this and following the lines does take a little bit longer, but I really love the look of it, and you can make it a one-of-a-kind card each time. So I had the coordinating die for this, so I cut that out as well. Now going back to the floral stamp, using an embossing ink pad and stamping it on there. And this I'm going to do another quicker watercolor background, but it looks different when you use embossing powder, and I'm using the white powder, and the white I think just makes a really cool look because it's like the reverse of the black, so it's exact opposite of what you would normally see. And also when you use embossing powder and watercolors, the powder kind of repels the watercolors and just water in general, which is really cool, and you can get some cool looks from it. I had thought I was originally going to paint each of these flowers, but then I decided to go with more of a rainbow theme instead, and I really like how this turned out. And like I said, it was super quick, but it has a really big impact. When you're doing this with a white embossing powder, the darker watercolors that you use, the more that it'll show up and pop against the white. And then one of my new favorite, I know it's been around for a little bit, but it's newish to me, but one of my new favorite stamping techniques is using the stamping foam. So how you use it is you heat it up using your heat tool, and then you can stick it into anything with texture, and it'll leave an imprint that you can then ink up and stamp with. So then I just applied my inks right over it and used a blending brush to blend them together so they didn't have that harsh line, and then spritzed it with some water just to get that ink flowing again. And you can see once I pull it up here how cool of a look that you can get. Here is a look at all of the finished cards. I added some embellishments. My favorites are some of the gems, and then some sentiments as well. If you have any questions about anything that I've used in this video, just leave it in the comments. Thanks for watching.